Reed Walker was a human pilot. He flew cargo ships across the stars. He worked alone, always moving from one spaceport to another. One day, his ship flew near a strange blue planet called Varela 9. It was not on his original route. He went there to avoid a space storm. As Reed moved closer to the planet, something strange happened. His ship's system started to blink, lights turned red. The engine began to slow down. Reed tried to control the ship, but nothing worked. A strong magnetic field pulled the ship down. He shouted into the radio, but no one answered. Then everything turned black. Reed opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt. His body felt heavy. He was not in his ship anymore. He was lying on a soft bed inside a clean white room. The walls were smooth and glowing with soft blue light. Strange floating machines moved around him, making a humming sound. Suddenly, a tall figure walked into the room. She was not human, but not scary. She looked kind. Her skin was silver blue and smooth like marble. Her eyes were large and glowing like stars. Her hair was long and tied behind her head. She wore a simple white uniform that looked medical. She came closer and looked at him with a calm, curious smile. "You are awake," she said in a smooth, musical voice. "That is good. You crashed hard," Reed blinked. "Where am I?" "You are on Varela 9, she replied. "My name is Nirali. I am a healer. You are safe now." Reed tried to sit up, but pain shot through his back. He groaned and fell back on the bed. Nirali smiled again. "Every inch of you needs treatment, human," she said with a smirk. "You were a mess when we found you," Reed frowned. "You're not going to cut me open or anything, right?" Nirali gave a small laugh. "No, we heal differently here." Reed spent the next hours lying on the bed. Machines floated around him. They used gentle light, soft music, and strange energy to heal his wounds. He didn't feel pain. Instead, his body slowly felt better, lighter, stronger. It was not like Earth medicine, and there were no needles or cold tools. It felt like being in a warm dream. Nirali stayed close, checking the machines and watching his progress. She asked questions about his body, his ship, and his world. Reed answered, though he still felt tired. "You are the first human I've met," Nirali said. "You are different." Reed smiled weakly. "Yeah, we get that a lot." She sat beside him. "Why do humans fly so far? Why do you risk your life in space?" Reed thought for a moment. "Because we want to see what's out there. We want to know things, and sometimes we don't like staying in one place." Nirali nodded slowly. "That sounds lonely." "It can be," Reed said. "But sometimes it's worth it." Later that day, Nirali brought him something to drink. It was a clear blue liquid that tasted like mint and honey. It made his head feel clear. He sat up a little and looked around the room. The ceiling showed a soft view of stars. It felt peaceful. "What is this place?" he asked. "This is a healing center," Nirali said. "We do not fight wars or hurt others. We learn, grow, and help those who arrive here by mistake, like you." Reed was quiet. "On Earth, there were hospitals, yes, but never this calm, never this quiet. Even in space stations, everything was cold and loud." "Thank you for helping me," he said. "Nir. We are curious about you, human. We thought your kind was only in stories." He raised an eyebrow. "Stories? You've heard of humans?" "Long ago, we heard signals, stories told by machines. But we never met anyone from your world, until today." At night, Reed rested in his bed and looked at the ceiling stars. Nirali sat nearby, reading a glowing tablet. For a while, they didn't talk. Then Reed asked softly, "Why are you helping me?" "You didn't have to." Nirali looked up. "Because you were hurt." "That is enough reason," Reed smiled again. "You're very different from some people I've met," she smirked. "I could say the same about you?" As the night continued, Reed began to understand something. This place, this alien world, was not dangerous. It was calm, quiet, and full of learning. These people, the Alari, didn't see him as a threat. They saw him as someone to help. For the first time in years, Reed didn't feel like just a cargo pilot. He felt like a guest. Maybe even something more. As he closed his eyes, he heard Nirali's voice one more time. Sleep well, human. Tomorrow, we treat your ship, but for now, let us treat you. And in that moment, Reed felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, hope. Reed woke up feeling fresh, his body no longer hurt. The bed was warm and soft, a soft light filled the room. Gentle music played in the background. It was like waking up in a dream. As he sat up, the floating machines moved closer. One scanned his chest. Another cleaned his arms with a warm light. He didn't feel scared, he just felt strange. Then the door opened and Nirali walked in. She wore the same white uniform and carried a glowing tablet. Her silver-blue skin shimmered in the light. "You look better," she said with a soft smile. The healing energy worked well, Reed nodded. "I feel better, almost like I never crashed." She checked a few readings on the tablet. "Your bones are mended. Muscles are stronger. Brainwaves are stable." Reed raised an eyebrow. "You checked my brain?" Nirali smirked. "Of course, we heal everything. Body, mind, and heart. Every inch," Reed laughed. "You really like that phrase, don't you?" "I do," she replied. "It makes you blush." Reed's ears turned a little red, but he smiled. Later, Nirali guided him into a large round room. The walls were covered in glowing symbols. In the center was a floating bed of light. "This is where we heal emotional stress," Nirali explained. "You lay in the light, and we play harmonic sounds. It balances the brain." Reed tilted his head. "You're saying music heals people?" Nirali nodded. "Sound affects feelings. Feelings affect the body? On Earth you have songs, yes?" "Yes, but we don't use them like this." Nirali touched a control. Soft sounds filled the room like wind, water, and gentle bells. Reed felt calm, like he was floating. The stress of the crash slowly melted away. "This is nice," he said. "NIRL." I looked proud. "Alari medicine is full care. We believe healing is more than fixing bones." Over the next few days, Reed explored the facility. Nirali was always nearby, answering his questions. She showed him floating gardens, energy fields, and learning rooms with crystal screens. One room held a map of the stars. Reed saw Earth as a small dot far away. Nirali touched another dot, showing Varela 9. "You came a long way," she said. "Your people move fast across space." Reed looked at the map. "Sometimes we move fast, but we don't always know where we're going." Nirali turned to him. "You mean your people explore without a clear purpose?" He shrugged. "Some explore for science. Some for trade. Some just run from problems." Nirali thought for a moment. "Here we do not run, we stop. We think, we ask questions. That must be nice," Reed said. "But humans, we're always in motion." One afternoon, Nirali brought Red to the tech room. Parts of his crashed ship were floating inside clear bubbles. Machines moved around them, slowly cleaning and scanning each piece. "We saved what we could," Nirali said. "We are learning from your ship." Reed stepped closer. "Can I help fix it?" She smiled. "Of course. But no rushing, healing first. I feel fine." "You say that, but your brain still moves fast, like a storm." Reed raised an eyebrow. "You scanned that too?" "Not scanned, just noticed." Reed worked slowly in the tech room. The Alari tools were strange, quiet, gentle, smooth. Nothing like human tools with sparks and wires. But he learned quickly. Nirali helped him understand how to connect both technologies. "Humans use fire and steel," she said. "We use light and balance," Reed chuckled. "And yet both can break, yes, but we learn how to repair. That is wisdom." Reed liked that answer. One evening, Nirali brought him to a small open garden under a crystal dome. Strange glowing flowers floated in the air. The stars above were clear and bright. They sat on a smooth stone bench. Nirali handed him a warm drink made from local plants. "This helps the heart," she said. "Not the muscle, the feeling." Reed took a sip. "You really believe emotions can be healed?" "Yes, emotions are energy. Bad energy becomes sickness." "You feel better now, yes?" Reed nodded. "I haven't felt this relaxed in years." They sat quietly. Then Nirali asked, "Do all humans feel alone in space?" Reed looked at her. "Not always, but when you travel alone for years, it becomes Normal. She looked up at the stars. I think your people are strong, but they carry too much inside, Reed smiled. Maybe that's why you're helping me, to make me carry less. She glanced at him and smiled softly. Maybe. As the days passed, Reed's ship got better. His body was fully healed. His thoughts were calm. But something else was happening too. He was beginning to feel connected to this place, to this way of life. And to Nirali, he noticed how she smiled when she solved a problem, how she walked with quiet grace, how her voice always calmed the room. She wasn't just a healer. She was a guide, a teacher, and maybe a friend. One night as he prepared to rest, Nirali stood by the door. Sleep well, human, she said. Hey, Reed replied. Thanks for all this, Nirali tilted her head. We do not say thanks here. We say, you are safe with us, Reed nodded. I like that, she smiled. Good, because you still need more treatment, he laughed. Still? She gave him one last smirk. Every inch. And with that she walked away. Reed Walker was finally walking without pain. His steps were steady, and his breathing felt easy. The crash seemed like a distant memory now. He moved through the wide halls of the Alari Healing Center, no longer a patient but almost like a guest, Nirali. The silver-blue alien nurse who helped him heal walked beside him. She held a small glowing device that showed his health reports. Still perfect. See? Reed said with a smile. I told you I was fine, Nirali looked at him. Your body is healed, but your mind is still too loud, Reed laughed. That's just how humans are. She gave him a small smile. Then I must learn more about humans. That afternoon, Nirali brought Reed to a learning room. The walls were like glass but showed moving images. It was a place where the Alari studied other worlds, languages, and ideas. I want to understand. Humans better, Nirali said. Tell me something your people love, Reed thought for a moment. We love stories, adventure, food, and fixing things. Fixing? She asked. Yeah, machines, problems, relationships. Humans always try to fix stuff even when it's broken beyond repair. That sounds tiring, Reed shrugged. Maybe, but it's in our nature. Reed began teaching Nirali about Earth. He showed her images of forests, oceans, cities, and spaceports. She was amazed by the mix of beauty and chaos. You live fast. She said, yes, sometimes too fast. She looked thoughtful. Why do humans fight with each other so much? Reed was quiet for a second. Because we want different things. And we don't always listen, Nirali nodded. Here, we listen before we act. Yeah, I noticed, Reed said, smiling. The next day, Red asked Nirali if he could show her something human. She agreed. He brought her to the tech lab and sat beside the pieces of his broken ship. On Earth, he said. We call this kind of work manual labor. It means using your hands. Nirali watched as he picked up tools and started connecting wires and panels. The tools made soft clicks. Sparks flew when he hit the wrong circuit. She stepped back. That looks dangerous. He smiled. It's fun. You want to try? She gave him a sharp look. I heal people. I don't break machines. Reed laughed. Sometimes you have to break something to understand it. Slowly, Nirali sat down and watched. He handed her a small tool. Together, they began fixing a piece of the power cord. Hours passed. They worked slowly but made progress. Nirali's hands were careful, and she asked many questions. What does this do? That's a coolant line. Keeps the engine from overheating. And that's the stabilizer. Without it, the ship shakes during flight. She looked impressed. Your machines are loud and rough, but clever, Reed grinned. That's humans. Loud, rough, but clever. Later, Nirali brought Reed to her favorite place-around room with a crystal roof that showed the stars. Small lights floated in the air like fireflies. This is where I come to think, she said. Reed looked around. It's beautiful. She sat down and looked up. You know, Reed, I thought humans were only stories. We believed you were wild, angry creatures, but you're different. Some of us are wild, Reed said. But not all, she smiled gently. I see that now. They sat in silence. The floating lights moved slowly around them. Then Nirali asked, Do you ever feel lonely in space? Reed thought about it. Yes, a lot actually. I've flown alone for years. Just me and my ship? No one to talk to, no one to understand. Me, Nirali looked at him with soft eyes. Then maybe it's time to stop flying alone, Reed looked at her. He didn't know what to say, but something in his chest felt warm. The next few days were peaceful. Reed helped fix the ship during the day. At night, he and Nirali walked through the gardens or watched the stars. He taught her human jokes. She taught him Alari songs. One time she told a joke using human words. What do you call a human who thinks too much? She asked. Reed raised an eyebrow. What? She smirked. Reed, he burst out laughing. That's terrible. She laughed too. I'm learning. As the ship repairs continued, Reed and Nirali added new features. They combined Alari tech with human parts. The ship would be faster, quieter, and smarter than before. This is what humans and Alari can do together, Nirali said proudly. Reed looked at her. We make a good team, she nodded. Yes, we fix things, Reed smiled. Even each other. One evening, as they stood by the ship, Nirali looked serious. Your ship will be ready soon. Will you leave us? Reed didn't answer right away. I don't know yet. You must go where your heart feels light, she said softly. He looked into her eyes. What if my heart feels light here? Nirali's face didn't change, but her eyes grew warmer. She touched his arm gently. Then maybe you are already home. Reed woke up early. The sky over Varela 9 was still dark, but soft blue light was rising from the horizon. He stepped outside the healing center. The garden smelled sweet. The air was fresh. He took a deep breath and smiled, for the first time. In many years he felt calm. His ship was almost fixed. The days had passed quickly. Working beside Nirali made everything better, faster, lighter, even joyful, but something unexpected happened that morning. The center lights flickered. The soft music stopped. The air felt heavy. A strange humming sound filled the halls. Machines stopped moving. Reed looked around. That's not normal. Nirali rushed into the room, her face calm but serious. There's a problem, she sighed. A data flux virus is spreading through the center. Reed blinked. A virus? Like a sickness? No, it's a tech sickness. It spreads through our systems, our lights, our tools, even our healing beds. Reed followed her to the control room. The screens showed spinning red symbols. Nirali's fingers moved quickly over a smooth control surface, but the machines didn't respond. We've never had this kind of problem before, she said. Red looked at the panel. You're using all auto systems? No manual backups? Nirali shook her head. We don't need them, usually. Reed stepped closer. You do now. He rolled up his sleeves and opened a small control panel at the bottom of the system. Behind the shiny surface, the wires and circuits reminded him of Earth tech. See this? He said. You've got feedback loops frying your memory cores. Nirali tilted her head. That sounds serious. It is, but I can fix it. If you let me do it the human way. She smiled a little. If it works, do what you must. Reed pulled out his toolkit. He used simple tools, ones that didn't rely on smooth lights or soft sounds. Sparks flew. The smell of heat filled the air. He worked fast, cutting power to some lines and rerouting others. Nirali watched him with wide eyes. Your method is loud. Yep, Reed replied, but it works. In less than an hour, the virus stopped spreading. The healing beds powered back on. Lights returned to normal. The center was safe again. You saved the entire center. Nirali said later as they walked through the garden. Reed smiled. You saved me first. I just returned the favor. Nirali looked thoughtful. We study harmony, peace, and balance. But today we learned something new, how to face chaos and fix it. Reed looked at her. Sometimes chaos teaches you more than peace. She nodded. You were the right visitor at the right time? That evening, Nirali invited Reed to the Crystal Dome again. But this time, she didn't bring any charts or questions. Just silence. They sat together on a smooth bench, looking up at the stars. We almost lost the center today, she said quietly. But you didn't, Reed answered. You're strong. Smarter than you think. She turned toward him. I felt scared or not used to fear. Reed said nothing for a moment, then he spoke softly. Being afraid means you care about something. That's not weakness. Nirali smiled a little. Then I care a lot. The stars above were brighter than usual. Small moons passed overhead. Light from the crystal dome reflected on Nirali's silver-blue skin. She turned to Reed again. You? No, we thought we were here to help you, but now I see. You're helping us. Reed chuckled. You mean I'm healing aliens now? Maybe, she said with a soft laugh. In your loud, strange, human way, Reed leaned back. Guess I'm a natural. Over the next 2 days, Reed worked with the Alari engineers to build new protection systems. He taught them how to make manual controls in case another tech virus attacked. The engineers were quiet and thoughtful, but they listened. They copied his actions and even used a few of his old tools. Nirali watched with quiet pride. You're changing things here. She said one evening, I'm just giving you options, Reed said. She smiled. That's what humans do. You give choices. You give freedom. One night, as they sat by a small glowing lake, Nirali looked at Reed and asked, Do you miss your home? Reed thought for a moment. Earth? Sometimes. But I don't know if I ever truly belong there. Why? He looked up at the stars. Too fast. Too noisy. Too many people running and no one listening. And here? He looked at her. Here, I feel heard. Nirali placed her hand gently over his. That is how healing begins. Reed didn't pull away. The moment was quiet, warm, and full of something new, something unspoken. The next morning, the Alari Council sent a message. It was rare for them to contact individuals directly. Nirali read it aloud. They have seen your work, she said. They are impressed. They want to speak with you. Reed blinked. Me? Why? They want to understand humans better. Nirali replied, They want to learn more. Maybe build a connection. Reed felt a mix of nerves and excitement. I didn't come here to make peace between worlds. I was just flying cargo. Sometimes, Nirali said, the smallest ship carries the biggest message. Reed stood outside the healing center that night. The stars above were silent. But inside him, everything felt alive. Vi our Ella-9 was no longer just the place he crashed. It had become something else, something special. He heard footsteps behind him. Nirali joined him, looking up at the sky too. You still need treatment, she said, with a teasing smirk. Reed laughed. Yeah? What kind now? She looked at him, her eyes kind. The kind that makes you stay. Reed Walker stood quietly at the edge of the crystal garden. The wind on Varela 9 was soft, and the sky was full of stars. His repaired ship sat nearby, ready for flight. It gleamed with both human metal and Alari crystal technology. It was almost time to leave. The engines were working. The ship had food, tools, and even a new navigation system. Nirali and the other Alari had helped him finish it. They did everything with care and respect, but Red didn't feel ready to say goodbye. Inside the healing center, Nirali was checking the final results of Reed's treatment. His body was strong, his mind was calm, his energy was balanced. She stared at the glowing tablet in her hands. You're fully healed, she said to herself. Every inch. But her heart felt heavy. That evening, Reed and Nirali sat by the floating lake. The water glowed soft blue. Above them, the crystal dome reflected the stars. Reed picked up a small glowing stone and rolled it between his fingers. So, he said, everything's done. Yes, Nirali replied quietly. He looked at her. But something doesn't feel finished. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, You're not broken anymore, Reed. You came to us as a crash. Now you're whole again. He smiled. You and your team did a great job. She looked down. Then why do I feel incomplete? They sat in silence. The lake shimmered. Lights danced above them. Reed finally spoke. Do you want me to stay? Nirali didn't look up. I want you to follow your heart. That is the rule of healing. But what if my heart is confused? Reed asked. She looked at him then. Then you wait until it is not. The next morning, Reed walked through the gardens alone. He passed the healing rooms, the floating lights, and the soft music halls. Everything felt peaceful, but also different. It felt like a goodbye. He stopped in front of the learning room. Inside, he saw young Alari watching a screen. On it was a simple video of Earth, blue skies, tall cities, humans walking. They were learning about his world. Because of him. Later that day, narrowly brought Reed a message from the Alari Council. It was inside a glowing crystal. When he touched it, the message played in his mind like a quiet voice. Human pilot Reed Walker. It said, "Your knowledge and action have helped us grow. We offer peaceful friendship between Alari and humans. If you accept, we ask you to become our first official contact, a bridge between our worlds." Reed stood still. He didn't expect this. He had come here by accident. And now they wanted him to represent all of Earth. He met Nirali in the garden. Again that evening. She was standing by a tall, glowing tree. Its petals floated like feathers in the air. "Well?" she asked. "What did you think of the message?" "It's a big ask," Reed said. "Me, speaking for humans? You showed us something we didn't have," she said. "Speed, courage, creativity." Reed looked at her. "And you showed me something I didn't have, peace." They stood in silence. Then he said, "Do you think I should do it?" Nirali looked into his eyes. I don't want you to leave, but I also know you are meant for something big." Reed took a deep breath. "What if I stay here? Help you teach, fix things. Just live here? You would do that?" She asked softly. "I might," he said, "but I need to be sure. I've run from too many things before." Nirali nodded. "Then stay until you are sure. This world is not in a hurry." That night, Reed sat inside his ship. The engines hummed gently. The seat was soft. Everything worked perfectly. He could leave at any time, but he didn't. He stared at the stars above. Then he opened a small drawer and took out a photo. It showed him with his old crew humans he hadn't seen in years. Some were gone now. Others had moved on. Reed whispered, "Maybe it's time I stopped flying alone." The next day, Reed met the council. They stood like shimmering figures of light and calm. They welcomed him with quiet bows. "I accept your offer," Reed said. "I'll stay, for now. And I'll help build the bridge between our worlds." The council members bowed again. "Then it begins," one said. Later, Reed and Nirali walked through the tech garden. It was a new place built to mix human and Alari science. "This is your idea," Nirali said. "Your design." "Our design," Reed corrected her. She smiled. "You're part of us now," he chuckled. "That's a big title for a guy who crashed into your planet," she smirked. "Every inch of you was a mess. And now?" he asked. "Now," she said gently. "Every inch is something we're proud of." That evening they stood side by side, watching the sky. Reed didn't need a ship to feel free anymore. He had already taken flight in a different way. Reed Walker was no longer a visitor. He was now part of VIR-9. The Healing Center had added a new room built from human metal, Alari crystals, and shared ideas. Inside, there were work tables, toolkits, and floating medical devices. On the walls were screens showing Earth and Alari cities side by side. It was called the Unity Lab. And Reed was its first human member. Every day, Reed worked with Nirali and the other healers. They mixed both styles, human repairs and Alari energy care. It was not always easy. Tools broke, systems clashed. Sometimes a small spark would fly, and Nirali would raise an eyebrow. "You're making fire again?" she'd say. Reed would grin. That's the human touch, but over time the work improved. Machines became smarter. Healing beds used both sound and sensors. Even the younger Alari began using wrenches along with crystals. Balance. Nirali said one day, watching two students connect a light beam to a steel bracket. "This is how it begins." One quiet afternoon, Nirali showed Reed a small golden cube. "This is our memory core," she said. "We add important stories here, things we must never forget." Reed turned it in his hands. It felt warm. "Why are you giving it to me?" he asked. "Because your story is now our story," Nirali said. Reed smiled. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." She gave a soft smile in return. "Don't get used to compliments. You still burn wires." A few days later, a signal arrived from space. It was faint but clear. A human cargo ship was passing near the system. The pilot's voice came through. "This is Eco 11 calling any station. We've lost engine control. May need emergency help." Reed looked at Nirali. "That's one of ours." She nodded. "We'll help them." Using the new Unity lab, Reed and the Alari built a rescue drone. It flew high into the sky, reached the human ship, and guided it down gently. The ship landed in a safe zone. The human pilot, a young woman named Kara, stepped out shocked to see alien faces and one familiar one. "Reed Walker?" She gasped. "You disappeared." Reed laughed. "You're not wrong. But I found something better." Kara stayed for a few days while her ship was repaired. She watched the Unity lab in action, amazed by the teamwork. "You live here now?" she asked Red one evening. "For now," he said. "It started with a crash. But I stayed because of what I found." She looked around. "You've built something incredible," Reed smiled. "And it's just the beginning." Before Kara left, she asked to bring a message back to Earth. Reed agreed. Her ship carried not only her cargo, but also recordings, medical files, and messages from the Alari. It was the first step toward peaceful contact. The galaxy was about to learn that humans weren't just explorers, they were healers too. Time passed. More humans arrived, some by accident, others on purpose. Varela 9 became a quiet meeting place, a symbol of harmony. Reed helped train new arrivals. Nirali taught them Alari ways, while Reed showed them human tools and jokes. They laughed. They learned. They worked side by side. One day, Nirali and Reed stood on a small platform outside the Unity lab. A new satellite was ready to launch. It was built from both human and Alari tech. It would fly through space, sending peaceful signals to both species. Nirali handed Reed the small glowing controller. "You press the button," she said. "Why me?" "Because you crashed here." She smiled, "and stayed to fix more than just your ship." Reed looked at her. "You fixed me too." She laughed softly. "Not just me, Varela healed you." "You let it." He pressed the button. The satellite rose into the sky, quiet and smooth. Lights blinked across its sides. On one panel was the symbol of Earth. On the other, the Alari star-leaf. Reed and Nirali watched it disappear into the stars. Later, as they walked back through the garden, Reed looked around. Flowers floated, lights danced. A group of Alari children played with a human-made hoverball. He smiled. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" Nirali shook her head. "No, but I'm glad it did." Reed looked at her. "So, what's next?" She gave him a familiar smirk. "You still need treatment." He laughed. "Still?" She stopped and faced him. "Yes, the kind that stays, the kind that grows, the kind that learns." Reed reached out and took her hand. "I'm ready." And so the human who fell from the stars became something new, not just a pilot. Not just a helper, he became a bridge, he became a friend, he became humanity's first healer, and every inch of him was finally whole.